Welcome to the stream. We are back after 1 month. Now we are back doing this every Thursday, so be ready for that. TD Meetup once a month, but every Thursday we do a stream anyway. And this time we're talking about job application review. This is a little bit off from a typical TD Meetup, but as I am also a technical director, this will be also, technical directors, technical artists, artists, software developers, everyone needs to apply for jobs, especially in the current market. It feels a little bit more difficult and you're wondering, is it me? Is it my skills? Is it the industry? Is it my job application? And so at least we want to remove one part from the equation. We want to remove that the job application is in the way of your success. Let me know if everything works fine, if there's any problem with connection, audio, whatever. Let me know in the chat. Else, I welcome everyone to join us live if you're watching this later. And the chat is open, so if you have comments or questions during the event, let us know. Again, this is a stream we do every Thursday from now on, so join us. Next, we will talk about different topics in visual effects, animation, and games, technical directing, Python, and so on and so forth. Welcome to our job application review, TD Meetup, and let's dive in. Welcome to my channel. Roll the intro. Hello, my friend. My name is Alexander Richter. I'm a technical director for visual effects, animation, and games, who was fortunate enough to work on projects like Avatar 2, Monsters at Work, and the Amazing World of Gumball at world-renowned companies like Weta Digital, Framestore, and Mackevision. Hey, before we dive into our live stream today, did you know that only 28% are subscribed to this channel? We're doing this live stream every Thursday at 1 p.m. UTC, so subscribe to get notified, and let's dive into our stream today. We are currently a little bit in a pickle with the industry. There is AI, there is the job market feels a little bit unstable. People are not sure, should we hire? How much should we staff our studios? And so one of the things that I wanted to do before we end this year is to end it with something, positive, something helpful. Every stream is helpful, but something that you can take into the next year. And the idea was to do a job application review. So we have a few people who applied with their job applications. We will review them live, and you get the opportunity, obviously the people who applied, thank you very much. They get the opportunity to get some feedback. We do like 15-20 minutes per person, since we only have like 2 hours, and we have I think 5 people if I'm mistaken. And that will be the one thing. But even if it's not your job application, I think there is a lot of things you can learn from watching me feedback other people. I'm 100% sure you will find at least 1 to 20 things that I do or correct in someone else's resume, showreel, whatever. And then you will think, I have the same problem. And so that is the thing that we want to do today. Before we dive into that, first one, I want to celebrate our 24th TD Meetup. This is, we did that now basically for 2 years in a row. This is our 24th. We will do that every month, so you're welcome to join. As you can see there at the bottom, future jobs will be in January. So January, February, every month we do this TD Meetup. It's part of our weekly stream. So yeah, as you can see, all these are live on YouTube. Just check it out on my channel if anything of that looks interesting. Yeah, we have also guests, and that's something I want to do in the future again. Have at least once a month a guest joining us to share the information. We recently had the virtual reality one, which was incredible, highly underrated. Would highly recommend you to watch that one. And we have a bunch of streams, as you can see, already aligned. So we have until mid of February, we have streams already ready. So, join us every week. We will do financially healthy, then Happy New Year, and then we do a little bit scripting and Python, but we will also dive more into visual effects, technical directing, and so on. So we will do a mix, so it is not just Python or something like that. We do this in the beginning, but then we stabilize and do also other things, and maybe do a secondary, a Tuesday Python or something like that. We'll see about that. Okay. The topic of the day is the job application. So this is important. And why do we talk about job application? Why is it important? Why is it important to educate ourselves and to get feedback? So that's also something, we're wondering why we're not succeeding in some situations. Obviously, there's multiple reasons. It could be our skills. It could be the industry, luck, and so on. But it could be also that. So if we think about, our skills, the things that we do, all the projects that we do, we are riggers, modelers, TDs, whatever, and then where we want to go maybe, we want to work for small companies, big studios, amazing animation, visual effects, games, whatever, and there is something that holds us back. So we can do something, but how do we get into this kind of studios? And what's in the middle is our job application, the whole process from our documents, obviously, showreel and so on, to the interview, to negotiation. And until this is done, until this is this is the bridge to the goal that we have, basically, to the studio, to the career, to the job that we have. And so that's very, very, very important. And how I see the job application process is basically the following. So what would a bad application do to your career opportunities, basically? So if we would say this is the skill level that you have, like say this is like pretty good, like this is, you're a great artist, programmer, technical director, technical artist, whatever, great. Then you have that kind of a medium job application. Suddenly, through the CV and the showreel and everything else, your skills are a little bit dampened. It's not as clear. It's not as, sexy, basically. So it doesn't matter what skills you have. Your job application can have the effect of showing less than what you know. And then obviously, that's in a job application, but what arrives at the studio, at the HR, at the recruiter who actually look at it is even less, because maybe they didn't read every sentence carefully and so on. So that is what can happen with a bad job application. So whatever skill we have, even if we are the right person for the job, for the studio, for the role, a bad job application can dampen and shorten our kind of potential. And then obviously it's still a potential that even that is even shortened by the studio, who cannot ever see every bullet point exactly as it is. And then, it's even smaller. So just because people don't hire you doesn't always mean it's a skill, or it doesn't always mean it's the industry or whatever. It could be a bad job application, and that can lead to, people underestimate what you can actually do. So quick check. Who here has ever applied for a VFX job? So you can either do hand raise or me or here or whatever you want to say. Just kind of quickly in the chat, let me know if you did that before. So yeah, that's always interesting to see if people are already applied, or we have new people here, students or something like that, because obviously that makes a big difference. With experience comes also strength, because again, this is a skill. Applying for a job is a skill, because again, it's like judging yourself. So you need to do it properly, you need to learn it, and so on. So just because you are great in something doesn't mean you can translate it easily into your CV, into your showreel, and so on. So it's not the same of what we can do to what other people see at the end of the day. So what is the job application process in itself? There are basically multiple levels. First, we have the application itself. That's what we will focus today. It has a CV, showreel, cover letter, social media. Then we have an interview. And finally, we have a contract negotiation. Often forgotten, but this is important, because no job, if, the salary doesn't align, if the holidays or whatever contract doesn't align, then it doesn't matter how good or how well you define each other, it has to match. Okay, so what we will focus today mainly is the documents. So what are the documents' purpose? So CV is about experience and time. Very important. It's an Excel spreadsheet that just looks at the very clear data. Then showreel, this is the most important part actually. So this always say, like always see your showreel, especially if you have a showreel, if you need a showreel. Not everyone needs a showreel, like a Python developer doesn't need a showreel, but everyone else, a modeler, rigger, shader needs a showreel. Showreel is the number one thing you need. So put the most time, make it the best. That is like, if you have something that is old, if you have something that is not the best, not the, that is the one that you need the most feedback, that the most polish in basically. Then cover letter can, give you a little bit the edge. You can explain certain things and so on. So maybe something is not perfect or something like that. But with the cover letter, you can help a little bit to that. And finally, totally underestimated, social media. People don't see and don't understand how recruiters actually, stalk you on social media. Obviously LinkedIn, but also Facebook, Instagram, and so on. And not only do they see maybe additional work, making offs and so on, they also see your personality, your political, religious, and so on beliefs, which not always can be in your benefit. So just be aware that this is part of the job application, especially if they're interested. The more interested they are, the more they want to know about you. And so this is an important part of the whole process, basically. So here is how this can look like, different CVs can look differently. Obviously, there's also some little bit difference. I often say, American style CV and, for example, European style CV can be different. Then we have obviously our showreel. Then we have a cover letter that is kind of like the 1 to 5% extra. And then finally, we have our social media. If you're not already connected with me, this is my LinkedIn profile, also good as a reference, if you want to polish your own, just check out what I did. Maybe that could be also something helpful for you, basically. So that is the job application, basically. Okay, enough of the introduction. Let's dive into actual job applications. We have a few people who submitted, so thank you very much for that. We have 5 people. We will go through all of them, but we will cap it because, it's only limited amount of time that we have. So let's dive into that one first. Okay, so again, it always depends a little bit on the kind of value. I think CV and showreel are the key, and then cover letter and LinkedIn should not stand in your way. So I think that is the thing, like showreel first, CV second, and then, LinkedIn and cover letter basically third, fourth, basically that would be important. So make sure that these two especially things are really, really polished. Okay, so we have first Ahmed, who submitted for us here, and I also have a few comments here. So how would you rate your current job application form? He said 2 out of 5. And then he is at, oh no, so 3 out of 5. Okay, and what is the biggest issue with your applications? I never get an email back. And then final comments, showreel is very outdated, 3 years old. And just as what you said, basically, so if we see the showreel as the key factor and the problem is, for example, no emails back, then this could be a very important part. So make sure that your showreel is always current, even if you have a job, every 6 to 12 months, it's not a bad idea to just dive into your showreel, polish it up, so you're ready whenever you need it, basically. So this is something I would do in general. So if your problem is that you maybe don't get emails back or something like that, and showreel is the most important thing in your job application, make sure your showreel is top notch before you apply, basically. Okay, let's dive into the resume first. Again, we do this with Ahmed, but feel free to, interpret that for your own resume. So overall, I think this looks good. This looks, you know, very stable, very easy to read, digestible. It's not an Excel spreadsheet, but close enough, basically. It's not also not an art project, which you should avoid in general. So overall, picture is fine. You know, looks professional enough. You know, a small smile doesn't hurt, but overall important. The key factor I always say is first is the name, biggest. Second is the job position, second biggest. And third is then the work experience. And fourth, everything else, basically. So this is the thing. Generally speaking, education should be under work experience, A, B, C. You know, if you say you are a pipeline TD, then the next one should be the work experience, and then the next one is education. It's like going down. So I would probably move where it starts. I think this is where it starts. I would probably move this here because just it makes sense. It's kind of the proof. It should not be on the side, which is like extra, you know, contact information and so on. I don't think you can have it. This is optional. I can just remove it. I don't think this is like super like added to it. It's very clear what goes on here. Very careful with links. First thing, I would generally put the link completely, you know, so github.com. And then careful with these underlines, because here, for example, I'm not sure is it a space or an underline. If I would type it, obviously this is a PDF. I can click it. Very important. But just to be in case, you know, make sure it's full link and either remove this underlining or, you know, make sure that it's clear that what everything else is. I had this kind of thing where I noticed you're from Egypt, but I missed Arabic. I'm pretty sure that you probably can speak this, so I would, you know, why it's not here, would be kind of confused. And then overall, the rest looks good. So quickly, professional summary. Generally, I think you can write it. Very important, if you do a professional summary, don't make it too abstract, too blah, 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 you know, just phrases and stuff. So we want to avoid that. Experienced pipeline technical director and FX artist specialized in Houdini pipeline development, USD integration and advanced problem solving for rendering and simulation workflows. Proven ability to support large teams of artists through robust tooling, API integrations, and effective technical solutions. Fine, a little bit generic, I would say. So it doesn't really, you know, if I would take this and I would put it under mine or anyone else here, then I don't know if it would make a difference if that speaks, you know, Ahmed. So that would be the careful thing where, yeah, very important, be very careful with grammar and, you know, writing in general, so there's no mistakes or something. Recruiters take that very, very seriously if you make mistakes in this, and like full sentence like this easily can have it. So make sure to check that. Ahmed, by the way, are you joining us today? If you're in the chat, let me know. Maybe I have a question back. So yeah, overall, yes, I would keep it, but generally I like a few things that you mentioned here. That's cool. Obviously certain things are nice that you mentioned certain things, but I mean, advanced problem solving, it's kind of generic. Rendering simulation, that makes sense. It's kind of specialization. But yeah, large teams also, like there's a few like 50 to 70% I like. 30% is kind of like doesn't really, you know, add to anything. So we should always make sure to have less is more. This I would generally make shorter, as short as possible. Like if you can make this, you know, basically all of them one line, that would be better. Just shorter. Like if you, I generally like if you do something like this. If you do something like your experience, you should mention the project if you have one, and then usually you have one, and then you can do some details like this, but keep them like super light, like the shortest way. It's basically like presentation. It should never be a full sentence. It should be bullet point, 3 words, 5 words, and that's it. So if you can keep it as short as possible, the better. Okay, and then we have this. Yeah, this may be pharmacy. Yeah, I mean, it has nothing to do with this. So kind of makes sense to not really mention much. It's more like I have some education, but nothing crazy about that. Skill summary. I don't think this is necessary. I would rather focus on this. This is more important here. I don't think it's like this is already a skill summary. This is like a double skill summary. I don't think it's like too much. And then, so important here is if you do this, you can all skills, software, you can divide it into if you want. It's very, very important because it's also about how fast can you start. You know, if you are 3ds Maxer and someone is looking for a Maya 3D user, it's like, takes a little bit longer. And so basically that's how this works so far. So yeah, you can divide this either in two, or yeah, just be careful not to push it too much together, make it too like hard to see, you know, Python, boom, easily. Where if you know, basic C++, JavaScript and Bash is like in one, this could be different things. So it could make sense to divide this into, you know, skill and software. So, and with the extra space here, you can put this, for example, here instead, and then that looks all fine to me, basically. By the way, any question from the chat in the meantime? Hello, everyone. So if you have any question to what I just said, or if Ahmed himself is here, feel free to let me know if you have any comments or something like that. So yeah, overall, the resume, I would say, is solid. I think there's a few things we can improve, but nothing, you know, major risk. You know, I wouldn't say there's anything in this resume that's really a blocker or something like that, basically. Nice. But yeah, I would definitely do these updates to improve as well. Okay, there was a question. Bernd, Koch, heard about the emoticons for email, etc. are not wished as well. Is that right? I don't think it really matters, you know. In general, professional is without, but again, I think this is more updated. I would say 10 years ago, yes, don't do emoticons. Nowadays, everyone's so much on, you know, kind of phone, you know, it's basically that it doesn't really matter. Obviously, you know, not 10, 20 or something like that. If you did one, or, you know, a smiley face or something, yeah, you should definitely not be, you know, you should not look like you are a 15-year-old TikToker writing an email or something. That would be maybe not wise. But, you know, if you have one or something like that, yeah, it really depends on your style. It's not like in the way at the end of the day. So yeah, I wouldn't say that's a particularly difficult thing. Is it really important to have a visually original resume, or is it a waste of time? Friends have told me that HR would get bored if they saw a traditional resume. Oh my God, this is the worst thing you can do. Never, ever do a creative resume. Whoever said that, I don't know what they're smoking, but at the end of the day, what is the purpose of a resume? The purpose of a resume is information in data, basically. It's about dates, it's about roles, it's about maybe skills and so on. It's about contact information and so on. So it's pure data. So having a creative resume runs into the potential threat of, you know, over coloring. You cannot print it because, and that's obviously a problem because a lot of times people still print, especially in recruiting. It can be ugly. You know, maybe you are not a designer and you make a creative resume and it just looks ugly. And over time it can look ugly. Maybe today it's okay, but in 5 years it looks ugly because, you know, it's not, you know, the font changed and so on, and the color scheme changed and whatever. So I would generally say, yeah, no, absolutely not. As simple, black and white as you can. I would say this is the maximum actually on design that I would do. This is already, I would say, yeah. But by the way, it is very important to understand this is more for the European thing. If you go to US, UK, I think Australia as well, then you have the different format because they use a different resume format, more text, no picture, and so on. But this is the maximum of what I would even allow. This is, for example, how I do it. Very, very similar. If we see here a few examples, you know, this or a little bit with color or something like that. Again, that's the maximum, but it's still very kind of easy to read is the key here. And the more colors, the more things, the more whatever, you know, graphs and, you know, pipe charts and whatever. Don't do that. Just keep it super simple. The only thing that you should work with is bold, a little bit font size, maybe maximum one color, but yeah, just don't overthink it. The resume is very straightforward. The most time you should spend on the resume is about what should you present, because not everything is important. Your Starbucks, kind of 5 years at Starbucks, who cares if you want to work in visual effects? No one cares about your 5 years at Starbucks or your 2 years as a cashier in McDonald's. These are more important, like what I put in and how do I present it. So that is also something that we have to look into this one. For example, here, for example, putting this into one line, does it make sense, or should it be, you know, each one its own bullet points? Does it make sense to mention that you have PySite experience or not? Is it in or out? Obviously, for example, this is already old because PySite 2 is not the current one. PySite 6 is the current one. So like all of these kind of questions is the again, what should be in and what should be out, and how do I present it? You know, do I write a long text? Do I make it shorter? What do I mention? Whatever. That is the key thing. Yeah, worst case, you know, use an online template or whatever. Actually, if you join my job application coaching, you will get the template also, American one and a European one. You can use that one. But yeah, just really, the question is not the formatting. It should be like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. The most time, hours. What should be in and how should I present it? That is the key here. Everything else doesn't really matter. So yeah, great question. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Okay, so let's dive into the second one. Then, so one thing, a small thing that I kind of noticed is like the formatting is different. It's kind of, yeah, it feels like two completely different people. Okay, to whom I may concern, I'm writing to express my interest in the Pipeline TD position at DNEC. With 4 years experience as both Houdini FX TD and Pipeline TD, I have honed my skills in establishing and maintaining Houdini environment from scratch. I'm quite knowledgeable in Python, PySet 2. Again, this is a little bit older now. Bash scripting and general high-level scripting in various DCCs and languages. My technical expertise in Houdini, coupled with a strong problem-solving aptitude, position me as an ideal candidate for this role. So there's different things. I don't know. I never liked this for me at home concern. I don't know. I would always say to like hello, I don't know, friends at Pixar or whatever, something like that. You know, not be super casual, but also not be, you know, we're not in a gentleman's club here. In terms of this, what I really like is first thing, obviously mentioning the role, very important. Then that you are the ideal candidate. I think that is very, very important. That is the point of this whole cover letter, is to, I am the right person. I showed you my showreel, I showed you my CV, my social media, but now let me kind of like, you know, create a bow around everything. So that's great. It is a little bit, so some parts of it is generic, some parts are like. So overall, this first part should be like, I am the ideal candidate in a summary, basically. So things like this, 4 years, you know, basically you hit all the milestones of the job application. So make sure that you mention, if it's like Houdini FX TD, then you are Houdini FX TD for 4 years. Fantastic. This is kind of thing. So basically, this is a short moment to really hit the nail in the coffin and then basically say, I'm the right candidate, blah, 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 blah. Now let me go into the details of that. So that is the key here. At VES FX, I have successfully integrated Houdini into a pipeline from scratch, creating, currently I'm battling battle testing it across multiple international and local projects. So one of the things very careful is I. So let me just kind of like count how many I's we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. I built a robust USD pipeline for Maya lighting for seamless transfer. 5. I'm also a deadline render wrangler. 6. I managed to integrate PDA. 7. I debugged all error Houdini. I mean, it's not I, but my. Houdini, artists, various departments have further developed. Okay, so obviously it's about you, so this is clear, but it's a little bit too much. I. So I would generally also, it should not be we, team. That's also bad. If you always mention the team, it sounds like you were just, not really involved. So you should obviously do my, I, mention it, but break it up between we in between or something like that. So it should not be too much. It's just a language thing, if something is I, it sounds like it's all about me. It's I did it alone, and that's most of the time unrealistic. So just a small thing, and sometimes you can build a sentence without I. In this environment, the work was focused on this, so something like that. So yeah, that is the small part, but overall I like the details. So this part is about details, like here Python scripting, HDAs, PySite, data render wrangler, PDG graph, debugging, Houdini USD. I love that. What I also would mention, if possible, team size. How many people in your team, how many people maybe in the whole project. I was like, I was working with 5 other TDs and 25 artists on this part. Yeah, that makes clear what is going on, how big is this, who you were working on, what battle tested are you basically. Furthermore, I still work as an FX artist, TD, with extensive generalist hands-on. First thing, decide which one. Are you FX artist or FX TD? You sound like you're FX TD, so never do something like that. Always, I am this. There's no slash or whatever. Hands-on experience with my Pyro, RBD, Vellum muscles, and crowd sims on multiple international and probably better and local photoreal movies and episodic content. This experience has equipped me with solid technical deep know-how in the intricacies of Houdini. On the intricacies. This intricacies is not a common word that you, so either you're really great, your English is fantastic, or there is some kind of correction going on here, or ChatGPT was writing. So that is very careful. At least that's what I would think. And again, maybe not a big thing, but I would say, is this what I read? Is this really the person behind it, or someone else wrote it, something else wrote it? So that is some small thing that I would notice. I'm particularly drawn to the opportunity at DNEC for the chance to work on blockbuster project. I'm eager to bring my technical skills, industry knowledge, and passion for Houdini in its pipeline to your talented team. Nice comment. I'm available for full-time partial position work and remotely lowercase. Thank you for considering my application. I look forward to possibly discussing how. So, okay, never do anything like this. Never do possibility, la la la. It's always be this is. Never do could be, possibly, whatever. It's is. Just better. But obviously, you can say that you're looking forward to it, but it never should be the possibility or something. It always sounds more vague, basically. Okay, so here I think you missed a little bit the part that connects you to DNEC. So I think what things like talented team is nice, but everything is a little bit generic. If I changed it to, another company, Framestore, I probably would fit. I don't think it doesn't make any difference. If I change this part to another company, it would fit. And that becomes generic, basically. If you change one thing and everything still works, it's generic. So I would make sure that if you do the company part, which I recommend, you put in something that is very, 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 very specific. You know, for example, DNEG famous for Interstellar's black hole. So this would be something you can mention here. Maybe that is a thing. So something very specific, you know, for Pixar, you know, you love this one movie, Ratatouille, for example, for me, and you loved crowd simulation that you saw in there or whatever. So this is the thing where we kind of like, you know, definitely never be, you know, generic versus concrete. Is it concrete or almost like I'm always kind of mixing up, because in German it's, I think it's concrete, should be. Yeah, so very, very, very important to be. If you guys know if it's something else, let me know. So yeah, that is always the key point, is to be, you know, specific. Maybe specific is probably the better word here. Specific. So if you can mention DNEG specific thing, if you can mention Pixar specific thing, then same thing. If you can mention, you know, exactly here as well. So the more specific you can be, especially in the cover letter, you know, it should not be I change this to Alex and it will still work. If that will be bad, because I'm also pipeline TD. Also, by the way, this is confusing. So here you called Houdini pipeline TD NFX, and here you called pipeline generalist. If this should be aligned, same. So this should be always the same. So make sure that they are interchangeable at the end of the day, because again, and how do you pick? You pick the one in the job application. If it says in the job application pipeline generalist, okay, weird, but okay, then this should be also pipeline generalist. If it says Houdini pipeline TD, then this should be also Houdini pipeline TD. So definitely make sure that not only design is 100% the same, just for recognizability, but also that the role is unquestionable. And the role, always pick the role in job application. Obviously, only if you can do it. If you're not a pipeline TD, you should not apply. But if you can do also pipeline TD, then just make sure that the role in here and in here is pipeline technical director, not pipeline generalist or something like that. Very, very important. Yeah, the rest, fine. This definitely needs a little bit more polish. I find the resume nice. This one, I like this middle part. I think this one is nice. I think this part, the bottom, is a little bit too generic, and the top is a little bit, maybe even too long. I would maybe at least a sentence I would kill out of that to make it short. And just be careful with your Shakespearean kind of expressions. So if this is you, because I will definitely notice this in an interview. So if you have a broken English, if your sentences are not as, you know, intricate as it is written in here, then I will notice that and I will say, okay, this is ChatGPT basically written. So that is something I would be careful. And again, the important part is to be specific. That is the key here at the end of the day. Then finally, we quickly, that's the last thing we want to do before we dive into something else. We quickly watch your showreel. It's only 1 minute. That's good. Short and sweet. Love it. And let's dive in. So we're watching it without sound, by the way. So that's how people normally watch it. So if you do music that is okay. Don't do music crazy, metal or whatever, dance. Just make it fine. Okay. Loved the breakdown in the beginning. Was really nice. This took too long. Should have been half the length already. too many tests for my feeling. You know, there's a lot of tests. Didn't see final thing. The first one could be a potential final, but a lot of is black background kind of stuff, which we try to avoid in general, because, you know, we make stuff for projects. We don't make stuff in a void. So first thing, most important thing, always make sure the first thing you see is a title card. Title card with your name, your role, your information, if you want your software. Very important. There's no question about it. Title card, 10 seconds or something. Very important. And then the same title card at the end. The contact information, very, very important. So make sure that this is like, you know, don't play around with this. This is strictly formal. Should be about that. This is obviously always bad. Never put a date into your showreel. If you worst case, you can put it in the title, but why? And then obviously the big problem, as you mentioned in the CV, Ahmed, is it's outdated, extremely outdated actually. So that would be a huge problem. Last comment is never put it on YouTube. First thing, YouTube compression is horrendous. Second, in Vimeo, you can just replace it. Same link, replace the video. For example, you can send this link anytime, and then every time, even during the interview, during the process, you can still update it and replace it, and, you know, make sure that it's like, so never use YouTube for something like that at the end of the day. Overall, I think again the showreel feels very testy, you know, R&D-ish kind of. So I don't know how much there is. Just pretty nice, but all of them, besides the first one, felt very much in a void, and that's something we want to avoid. This is much too long, for example, it's pretty nice, but again, without the whole environment kind of thing in the background, it feels a little bit, yeah, length is cool, 1 minute, totally fine. Not sure if all of it is the same quality, I would say. This, I don't know if that's really the biggest thing here. I generally like the first one. I think that's cool. A breakdown makes it also. The compositing isn't great, I would say. I generally like the effects part, fine, but the compositing, it makes it such a, you know, sunnyish, blurryish, sunnish. Yeah, I wouldn't say, like, the compositing actually puts it a little bit down for me. I would rather prefer clarity, you know, a little bit depth of field or something like that. But overall, fine. But I mean, again, the most important thing here, the biggest thing, downside here is it's not current. And that is something that I would address the most, basically. Okay, that was our first guest, basically. We will do the rest a little bit faster since we now have a few things prepared. In the meantime, do you guys have any comments or questions while I'm preparing the next person in the background? So, do we? No questions, no comments? Okay, fine. So if you have anything, let me know. Let's dive back into that one. Amogh. Now we have a question before we dive into that one. Bernd, are there any good Vimeo alternatives? It's kind of expensive just to password protect, unlist a reel. Well, I'm not familiar with that. I mean, obviously the best, like, simple solution, if you have public, that then you can use Vimeo, no problem. If you have this restriction, I understand. I forgot that this is limited to certain cases. Maybe there is some alternative, but yeah, if you find an alternative, make sure the quality is good and you can replace the video, so you don't have to send a new link. So that is the important part. So if you can have a public showreel, you can put it. I'm not sure how it's currently. Do you have to pay for password protection or unlisted? I'm not sure. If yeah, then yeah, I understand. But yeah, generally, if you can avoid it, don't use YouTube. It doesn't make maybe sense to pay for Vimeo for that kind of thing, but that could be something that to consider, basically. Okay. let's dive in. Amogh. So you can see here the different formatting. And this is more the American style that we have here. Personally, not a big fan. I'm not sure if it's just because I'm European, I'm just used to a European style, or it's really a little bit, text heavy and mushy. But yeah, that is. But yeah, if you are an American, UK, Australian, I think also, and a few other places, then this is the format. Generally speaking, I'm not sure how this is, but usually that you should leave some space for the print, as the printer will not print on certain areas. So just be careful not to overuse the sites. Again, usually kind of a docs file allow you to do that. So if you do this in Photoshop, careful. Yeah, you have all the information, Vimeo. Yeah, you can have a custom link here, potentially. For example, vimeo.com, I have Alexander Richter TD. That could be a thing. Okay, then, so first thing, I kind of miss the position here. Is that not a thing, kind of? So I have to basically read here. I'm wondering if you should add it here at top, the row. I think, yeah. Generally, I would say here, but I'm not like a super expert in American style resumes. So, but I generally would say something here. But I feel like it should be somewhere. Okay, then the first one is experience, obviously, visual effects, artist, VFX, media marketing, location, Toronto. Okay, this doesn't have a location. This also doesn't have a location, so inconsistent a little bit. Designed over 20 ads, infographics, As you can see here, this kind of style is a little bit more verbose, describing the success. It's very common to describe, how much money you made as a marketing person and so on. So this is like very important. Here are the dates. That's cool. Yeah, fine. Overall, I think this looks fine. This is like, it's very typical. I'm surprised that this has not a range, just like the full year or something. So just making sure that this is correct. I generally would not call anything other. Should be something clear. Projects maybe. So yeah, other sounds, not really helpful. Projects, maybe something like this, or films or something like that. Project sounds more like you did it. Film sounds like something you watched or something. Skills sounds better. Design, tools. Yeah, so this clashing here, at least for me, I feel like skills and software are two different things. Even though, you have the skills of the software, yeah, it's okay, probably. But yeah, other strengths, again, no other or something like that. This should be hobbies. I'm still learning how to write, like in the first grade. So yeah, this would be hobbies. Loved it. Did you saw one of my YouTube videos or something like that, the FMX one maybe? Because it does exactly what I described before. Instead of saying photography, he said urban photography, music production, sound design. So it's not, it has some details. It has some, something that people can grab and say, oh, this is not just generic photography. No, it's, landscape photography, urban photography, and so on. Yeah, overall, this looks nice. Again, I feel like things get lost a little bit in these American-ish resumes, and I think they're a little bit verbose, but again, very important if you apply. Obviously, if you apply into international big companies like Disney, Pixar, ILM, and so on, they will accept probably both. I don't think they really care. But the smaller the studio, the more niche, the more, native to a country studio, the more you should kind of adjust maybe to that if necessary. But generally, I don't think the formatting of your resume will make a difference in general. So fine. Then we have this same thing, you know, formatting completely different. This looks like a docs, and that looked like a Photoshop kind of file. So yeah, slightly inconsistent. Then we have some information here, a little bit clumpy. Date, okay. Hiring manager, okay. Dear Soho VFX team. Yeah, this is something I like more. Like, you may concern or something. I don't know, what was it? To whom it may concern. Again, Shakespearean for me. Dear Soho VFX team, I think this looks cool. This sounds good. I'm excited to apply for the compositing role at Soho VFX. Visiting your studio last year left a strong impression on me, and I've been eager to contribute to your team. While my resume and demo reel highlight my work, I would like to provide some tech context behind a few short skills. Okay, so it's a mixed bag. On one side, I'm excited to apply. Sure. It's important that you mention the role again. Yeah, I'm applying for this is fantastic. Mentioning some history, some connections, some background, some decision making. Love it. And then I think he dropped the ball a little bit here, where this should be more about, you know, showing why you are the right person for a compositing role at Soho VFX. You know, with 5 years of experience. So I think here this one is better. Could be shorter, but generally, you know, starting, making an introduction, blah 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 blah. This is what we're talking about, and then instantly diving into 4 years, exactly the right person. I'm the ideal candidate. Bomb, and read more to find out why. So that's how I would apply. Then details at MPC. I worked on projects such as Napoleon, Discharged, Aquaman. Wow, this is fantastic. I focused on rotoscoping, mate extraction, and handling meat extraction and handling complex motion blur, ensuring smooth integration of character and elements. Outside of first thing, I love that you kind of keep the eyes a little bit in check here. You know, I fixed personal training or expand my compositing. In my you have these like mini sentence before you dive into the eye, basically. That's also a way, but you overdo it a little bit. Here again. Here again. Yeah, this is not good writing, but the idea is nice. Other professional work, explore personal and training projects to expand my compositing skills. In my car shot out project, oh, this is like focused on like showreel. Yeah, I think that, okay, then it's fine. In a full deep, I think, okay, that makes sense. If it would be like the description of anything, I think it's kind of weird to follow this structure, but if it's like really, it's basically a list. So then it makes total sense. In Wolf Puppet Shot, I handled wriggle mode. Okay, fantastic. This experience has strengthened my expertise in nuke tracking, 3D integration, keying, color. I'm based in Toronto and comfortable. I'm eager to contribute to your upcoming projects. Yeah, I think this is a nice thing. This is kind of like a summary a little bit. Also, to some degree, a summary maybe of the job application, all the skills, all the things, obviously locations, maybe, you know, double down a little bit and maybe mention something to, you know, make it clearer that I have a visa or whatever. I'm already ready to work tomorrow. I think that's good. Yeah, what I kind of miss here is the connection to the company that is mentioned here, but maybe too briefly. I generally would recommend to, you know, probably here. Again, it's not a must, but if you can, I would generally mention it. I think it's smart to mention something like this. Here, actually, I did that as well when I applied for Pixar. I mentioned that I had just recently an interview with Paul Kaniak from Pixar crowd, and so I mentioned that in the first sentence, basically, you know. So, but yeah, this is something about the studio again. Maybe an interesting project, interesting research, interesting contribution. You know, something that is connected with you. Again, very, as we learned before, specific and not generic, kind of. The rest looks good overall. Yeah, I kind of love this kind of breakdown here. I think it's nice, and I kind of love this summary, especially also with, you know, location, which is always a little bit of a tricky part sometimes. This is, yeah, looks good. And then we have a show reel, if I'm not mistaken, here. Let me just open that one in the background. Quickly to the chat. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. Bernd, to the last we talked about Vimeo. All right, thanks. I have a public and an unlisted one. Password protected costs €8 per month on Vimeo. Yeah, so that's always like, cost is also something I would always be careful as well. It's not worth it generally. Like, yeah, I would not pay for that if it's only for my show reel. But again, it's very important, you know, if you have a crisp image that you want that to be also, you know, look good, and again also the placing of that. Okay, so let's remove the sound. Oh, I remember. So this is something, I will mention that later, but this is something that Hugo Guerra already checked out before, so I will not spend too much time on this one because Hugo gave feedback on that. Highly recommend Honest Review, I think it's called. Hugo's Desk. Yeah, he does that every month, every 2 months or something. So just check it out on Hugo's Desk and on YouTube. And yeah, so let's quickly dive through it. I just watched it one time, nothing crazy, because we can either, for Amogh, we can just basically look more on the LinkedIn thing since we didn't cover that before. So first one, this is fantastic. Name, position, probably a little bit bigger position, email, LinkedIn, and then even the software and tools. This is important. Could be a few seconds longer. Yeah, MPC logo here, roles here, project here. Obviously, Napoleon is a cool project to show, so this looks fantastic. And yeah, this is a test shot. Isn't Action? Yeah, Action VFX. I just recently talked to the CEO of Action VFX. Maybe you watched this. And so yeah, this was also pretty nice. D-Love puppet shot. Here, the integration and a little bit like the bubbles here look a little bit like sandy. Kind of not on the same level, I would say, as the things before. It's not bad. It looks a little bit more student kind of level. Yeah, just would leave the title cards beginning and end longer, 5-10 seconds, you know, cannot hurt to keep it longer. And then everything else, you know, the description, the titles and whatever, the images are very nice, quality overall. Yeah, I mean, this one is probably the weakest shot from all of that. And again, the best shot in the beginning, the second best shot at the end, because this is the aftertaste that I have from this show reel, which is not something you want. This is not as good as something, you know, visual effects cinema movie, basically. So I would say this, yeah, this could be either improved, replaced, something like that. So yeah, it's not as good. Obviously, there's not much to do. Also, obviously, a real projects versus test shots, it kind of like dampens the quality slightly. So this is fine. I feel like this maybe is the weakest one at the end of the day. By the way, chat, if you have any comments, let me know. Maybe you have some insights into this one as well. Okay, since we didn't do that before, let's do that now for our second guest. Oh yeah, Rodolfi. Rodolfi just recently reached out to me. I just saw the Action VFX kind of footage. So let's dive quickly into also his LinkedIn, since we didn't look at that before. Okay, very important. LinkedIn is kind of your modern CV, so very important to spend some time on it. Don't undervalue it. So first thing, obviously, nice photo, VES, cool. Undervalued the banner, very, very important to have something representative of you. This obviously shows a project, but the other alternative is showing your skills, you know, showing your rig, showing something that is connected to a model or so on. Then this is nice. It's the, you know, the summary of you, highly motivated visual effects compositor. This is, again, careful with this kind of wording. I can probably copy paste this and add this to every LinkedIn profile, and it would not matter, especially, okay, every compositing LinkedIn profile, and it would not matter. This is the careful part. Never write anything in your application that is so generic that it could be, you know, put into someone else's thing. And at the end of the day, basically, if I would remove these parts or replace them with modeling, the rest probably would be true still. So that is something we want to avoid at the end of the day. Then experience, this looks fine. Always make sure to add, you know, things like this. This is good, like projects. I generally would recommend to add links. Cannot hurt. And definitely make sure to put your show reel here, make it as a post, and then pin it. This should be very crazy, you know, kind of, let me show you how this can look like. So for example, this is my page. You can see here, you know, some statement, avatar, and then you can see here, for example, featured, or you can also pin things and then some background to certain things. So yeah, the rest, education, fine. Volunteering, nice. Skills, always important to mention the skills that are, you know, related, compositing, nuke, whatever. So, you know, leadership, it doesn't really matter. So definitely make sure that this is clean. Less is more. I would not overdo it here, but especially the top skills should be absolutely related. If you're compositor, nuke, compositing, tracking, whatever. Languages is nice, and I would at least have one recommendation. Doesn't hurt. Basically, yeah. Overall, a few tweaks, but this is fine. And yeah, here very, very important, easy access to your stuff. You know, to your website, to especially your show reel. Very, very, very important. And picking a title that is, you know, standardized. Don't do this bullshit of, you know, helping people to find their, or helping people to make pretty pictures or whatever. Nope. Make sure that it's a title. This could be searchable, first thing. Second, it should be the same as in your CV. It should be the same as in the job application, basically. So if it is VFX compositor, it is VFX compositor. If it's new compositor, 3D compositor, whatever. So make sure that this aligns with your common roles that you usually do, basically. Okay, that's for that. Chat, do you guys have anything you would like to ask or comment on? More quiet today. Maybe less people. So Bernd, let's dive into yours. Saw you in the comments. So, okay, this is obviously more like an Americish, British kind of. Where is this for specifically? Which country? Is it for Austria, or is this for a certain country that you made it for, or is it Austrian application form? Okay, so first one, yeah, looks fine. It looks a little bit fancy, the font and so on. Like for me, it looks a little bit like, you know, for you're applying for a fancy hotel or something like that. So you said I've applied to Canada and Australia. Yeah, that makes sense. As I said, this is more of an English-speaking format, you know, English countries format. So I think this makes sense. I don't know about this, so either you have it or you don't. I think the only time I've ever been called in my life was by Naughty Dog. I applied to them and they called me. That was the only time I've ever been called. Since then, I don't really show it. Yeah, you just decide. Like, if you feel like this is possible, generally, if it's in the same country, I would probably even put it in. But if it's internationally, you can always have a call anyway without that. The rest, I think it's very like the way that you format it is very clean. I think clean is the best way to describe this. I kind of copied a Canadian compare. Yeah, I think it's clean. Font is not the most standard, but it looks fancy. But yeah, I like it. The little color, just kind of adds to the highlighting. Visual effects compositor for high-end television and feature films since 2021 with Nuke as my primary software, maybe? Tool sounds a little bit... so to start, I like it. It's not generic, it's very specific. What are the specialties? What is the software? How long? I think this sentence is fully packed. This is a fantastic summary. Skilled in CG, set extensions, retiming and morphing plates, complex, clean, deep bottom. Fantastic. Strong understanding of photography and practical lighting, delivering polished shots efficiency on tight deadlines. Now it goes a little bit in generic territory. Collaborate team player, working closely with supervisors. Yes, now it's generic. So this part is probably the most generic. Again, I can put that into any. And also it doesn't really relate to you, and everyone can say that. Like, the worst team player in the world can write this in that, and it doesn't mean anything. While not everyone can say that I'm sincere, or they use this software, or something like that, or they are in certain specialties. So yeah, I would definitely either remove this or make it a little bit more concrete, as we talked here, specific. So I would definitely go into that direction here. Experience, very important. Independent, new compositor. Oh, this is the studio. I was like, what does that mean? July, present, on-site in Vienna, freelance compositing in indie films, music videos, and commercials. Would be nice. Oh, there it is. I think I would prefer to put this first here, because at the end of the day, what is the keys here? It's your role, the studio, and the kick-ass projects you work, and then details. So that is like how I would define this. So the projects, some of that could be really, really important and cool, so they should be, priority-wise higher in that. So every time here. Cliffhanger, is it the Sylvester Stallone remake? Wasn't there a remake made or something? Mid-level, new compositor. So I'm wondering here, did you get demoted? Because now you're just a new compositor, because before you were mid-level new is it because, shouldn't it be senior now or something? Because if this is mid, this is mid, and this is mid, and this is mid, this is junior, like this is all level, this should be senior from the logic here. So wondering how the last one, so it's kind of like surprisingly suddenly did you upgrade or downgrade or something like that with this last role? That is kind of like the thing where you have to be kind of consistencies in this case. So Bernd, if you can let me know, happy to hear. So yeah, this should either be like, if everything is like junior and mid, should this either is mid or senior, else it's kind of doesn't make sense. I guess I thought companies attached the title and wanted to leave it open for independent work. Oh, this is not a company. I thought it's a company. It's your freelancing. So I would probably, because I really thought it is a studio called Independent. I was like, I don't know, this studio. I was kind of like freelancing or something like that. But again, if you are this, you can either be mid, or if you feel like this is the, now you're senior, then you are senior. So yeah, again, it's kind of just like logically. First thing, I thought this is basically a project that studio, so that was the reason. Yeah, same comments, project up, but the rest looks good. Because if you are mid, that would also make a difference. What is here? Compositing artist. So this is also the question if you need to have a title here, seniority, maybe possible. So because that's the thing, if you are mid, I would probably keep it one page. If you're senior, I would accept 2 pages. So that is the thing, because again, the question, again, the most important thing about resumes, what comes in and what comes out. So does it have to be, and you can do it because obviously you don't need all these comments. So if we would remove all of them, easy can put that together, maybe some of them. So again, this is the big question. So generally 1 page is always better until there's literally, you are high experienced and you just have too much to show. Leads, supervisors for sure, seniors potentially. So seniors is the bridge to 2 pages. Anything before is just, and maybe delete a few things. It's just, is it really helpful? That's the big question. Does it really add to your expression? Do you repeat yourself maybe doing the same thing 20 times in different roles? So I would be careful with that. Then education, mentors. Okay. Software, languages. Generally, I would put language. I'm not sure if this may be a thing in Europe. We put it probably somewhere here. If it's a standard here, fine. But yeah, kind of strange to see it at the end. I generally would recommend to put hobbies in. This would be my hobby part maybe. Because again, hobbies can create certain talkable topics. Let's say you're a cosplayer and then the recruiter is a cosplayer. Instant connection, I would say. I would say here, skills, I would add probably, even though you did this cool part in here, I love it, but it cannot hurt to have a skills sections. Python, always recommend. So join us. But no, but again, like rotoscoping, whatever important skills kind of you have, that is absolutely related to the role. Not every skill related to the role skill. I would say this is something I would add probably. But I also like that you keep everything clean. So overall, like design tech, A+. I think design, fantastic. If it has to have these color, fine. But overall design is nice. If you can make it, let's say 1.5 pages, maybe better, just, keeping it tight. And the rest, I think that looks good. That is nice one. Any questions from your side regarding that, Bernd? Oh, did I add? I didn't add your cover letter. Here it is. Should I change the first compositing artist header to compositor? What do you mean to compositor? Not sure. The first artist header. Where are you? Composite. Oh, you mean from instead of compositing artist, compositor? Doesn't. I personally find compositor better. It's, this or new compositor. Again, make it relatable to the jobs that you're applying for. If you apply for 20 jobs and everyone calls it new compositor, everyone calls it compositor, everyone calls it 3D compositor, everyone calls it VFX compositor, that's what you should. So you should work on data, not on feeling or interpretation. Just look at what you need to do. And again, there's a potential to do multiple resumes. So you can have multiple resumes depending on the role. Sometimes just change the title to have it exactly the same as the job application, but that could be already enough. But yeah, compositing artist, I think I like compositor honestly more. It could be VFX compositor. It really depends a little bit to the details. Then are the bullet points to be changed to each job application for the ATS stuff, ads stuff? Not sure what the last part. I mean, I wouldn't do, too much in here in general. You don't need to overdo it, but it can make sometimes sense to, do a few changes if you see certain things, highlight certain things. Like, for example, let's say they use ftrack in one job application highly, or they do use ShotGrid or Flow now. You can maybe change the order or something, like small things like that, or you can just add that. For example, if they say you have to know Linux, I would put Linux in here, for example. It's maybe not a big deal, but let's say it's a 1% extra. So I think that could be a thing. The applicant tracking system, where they kind of scan through your resume for words. Yeah, I mean, independent of applicant tracking system or not, this is how humans work. We look at things and we want things to, for example, if I look at this, I'm looking for a VFX compositor. I'm looking at your resume. It says compositing artist. It's not the same. I mean, we'll still hold, but it's not the same. And so we are also pattern recognition. So I would do it generally for everything, like humans, machines, whatever. Like make sure that your resume kind of has all the keywords of the job application, the title, all the skills, whatever. So yeah, independent of machine or not, it should be in here. And obviously, if you're, for example, here, this is also a small disconnect. It's called compositing artist here, but it's called new compositor down here. It doesn't align. It's two different roles, kind of. Like, obviously it's the same role, but the words are different. And again, especially recruiters, they are not always familiar with all the pieces. But also, you say you are a compositing artist, but your experience is new compositor. It's kind of like slightly off, Maybe it's the same role, but slightly off, basically. It's the same thing as we talked about pipeline generalist or pipeline technical director. It could be the same role, but if someone doesn't know what's the difference, it could sound like two different roles, basically. So that is something we want to avoid. Okay, you're the first one here who actually made same formatting. So that's points for that one. So very important. Okay, that's good, because it looks like it's coming from the same place. By the way, the page thing could be a little bit normal location. This will be cut off if this is ever printed. Also, it's kind of weirdly placed, so normal placement here. Here, like it should be in the corner here. So basically, okay. Dear hiring manager at Rising Sun Pictures. Yeah, I mean, what was the other one we had? Dear, I like this a little bit more, but I mean, it's like small stuff. Who cares? So I am a new compositor from Austria with over 4 years of broad experience in film, high-end commercials, working with talented artists on international. So first thing, you kind of don't mention the role. You mention it here, obviously, but I kind of like it if you start the first sentence with, I'm applying for the role of period. I am this role. Basically, I'm applying for a VFX compositor at Rising Sun Pictures. I am a visual effects compositor for 4 years. Bam, bam, bam. Statement, you state something you're looking for. I am this. So this connection is always the best. So this is something you should kind of like, this is like A-B kind of situation. Working with talented artists, over the years, I've developed a strong eye. Yeah, this is too generic. I can already feel this. It's like, if you compare this to the other ones, it's too generic. I would generally be careful with that. By the way, formatting, what's going on here? If you draw a line, it's kind of weird. So yeah, definitely make sure to, like, this is much, much stronger here, especially the first part. So yeah, just, yeah, no. But again, statement, this is the role you're looking for. I am this role because I have 4 years of experience. I'm working in Nuke. I'm When I first learned Nuke, my mentor introduced me to industry standard compositing techniques, giving me a strong head start. Within my first 3 months, I progressed from roto and prep workflows. That's nice. It's kind of success story, nice. I recently demonstrated these skills in my reel through several weeks on my Warmageddon shot, where look development and deep compositing were central tasks. My time on Wes Anderson projects further refined my attention to detail, where precise, high-quality comps are essential. Since the start of this year, I've been working on a feature film requiring creative, magical solution, including... It's like the intricate. By the way, Bernd, now that I have you, is that your language, or is there some ChatGPT going on, or some whatever AI model? I kind of feel like intricate is very common here, and I'm just not feeling it. So let me know. Okay. Yeah. There might be a good mixture of GPT. Yeah, because that is something that you can see, you know, is a typical thing, the big long line, you know, at the end of a sentence or something, where there's blah, blah, blah at the end, which is a giveaway for chat GPTs and whatever. This thing is exactly that. So I would avoid that as hell. Like, don't, like, you can idea generation flow a little bit, but make sure it's your own words. If you don't use intricate as a normal word, then don't use it. It just for me, you can see it just stick out. I was like, who says intricate? Generally, I very rarely read that at all. Like, I even had problems to pronounce it because I'm so not used to reading it. The fast-paced schedule pushed me to balance quick turnarounds with maintaining aesthetic quality. Doesn't mean anything. I communicate proactive with upstream departments and asset doesn't mean anything. This process also required troubleshooting technical. Doesn't mean anything. Like, it's all fluff. There again, I can replace that, send it in a different cover letter. It should be about I worked with 5 other teams. My lead was I supported 10 artists. I was doing this. I rotoscoped for that. Blah blah blah. That is something like numbers, data, connections, people names, software, scripts, plugins, whatever. This should be something, not word salad. Basically, that's something we want to avoid. I'm particularly drawn to because of the extensive history in visual effects and in impact on both the Australian and global industry. As the studio responsible for some of the most memorable images, it starts well, but it has the same problem. It's too generic. Like, it starts nice, but then you don't land because it's just like every company, like Animal Logic could be in this, and it would just change this here, and it would be Animal Logic. So, which is now Netflix Animation. So this is very careful with that. So I would rather mention which one, which project, mention which research, mention which action, mention which, you know, someone who told you they're fantastic because of this and this. So that is always, you know, what do we learned? Specific, yes. And additional, the collaborative close net environment aligns strongly with what doesn't really do anything. I would welcome the opportunity to relocate, contribute to the team as well as son, and continue developing my So this is the thing that we let's dive into this thing, because that is the problem that a lot of people don't understand. No one cares about your stuff. No one cares about your development. The studio doesn't care about your development. Obviously, they want to train you and stuff. Nice, yeah. But how can you provide them? Not how they can provide you education, your development, the thing. It's more like I'm, for example, difference to continue developing my skills, and I'm ready to enhance my skills to serve you better. That's the two difference. One is I'm using the opportunity to become better. The other one is I'm becoming better to become better for you, to be more productive. So that is very, very, very important. So generally speaking, if you use language like this, even in an interview, always ask yourself, what do I bring them to the table, not what they give me, because that is something you need to know beforehand. But if you talk to them, it's all about them. You say, I know I did, okay, but when it comes to them, it's always about how can you provide value to them, not how they can provide education, in this case, to you. This is about learning, open up feedback, and eager to support the vision doesn't mean anything. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would greatly appreciate the chance to further discuss my fit. A little bit, again, opportunity kind of feeling, which I generally don't like. Again, obviously not arrogant, but it's always, I'm looking forward to. Sounds 10 times better. It's like, I would love to. Kind of like, one is like opportunistic. And I was like, this is good. This is cool. Like, statement. So always be more on the side of like, let's do it, versus it would be nice if we can do it. So that would be the thing at the end of the day. Yeah, there were some comments here in the meantime. So first one, Choco, will this session be recorded or available to watch later? I'm in the middle of a traffic and my Wi-Fi is going out. Yes, all of our live streams are recorded, will be available instantly after the live stream. So you will have access to that one, basically. But yeah, you can always also join our, job application coaching. It's supposed to be a new line, but I'm not sure how cover letters are formatted generally. I mean, these are just kind of small things that we are talking about this part here at the top. So I'm kind of like catching up. There might be a good mixture of GPT. I see more real storytelling. There's a lot of motivation coming from their website, as we have video introduction themselves. That's why memorable images is mentioned. Okay, yeah, that sounds more logical from the company perspective. Yeah, so generally always we are selling. So if salesman comes to your door and they tell you, by the way, if you buy my product, if you buy this product, you can help me to achieve my goal for this week, to achieve my quota. Like, okay, thank you. How is that benefiting me? Do I get money from that? So that is the thing where we want to avoid. The other side, if the salesman comes to your door and says, with this product, it will solve your problems. Let me show you how this product will solve your problems. Let me show you by inviting me inside how I can help you. Something else. So that's something we need to do as well in our resumes. Like, how do we, as in this case, VFX compositor, new compositor, solve their problems? What is something we bring to the table? Obviously our basic skills, but maybe we bring something special, Python skills, as I'm always promoting. So yeah, that's the thing. Okay, Jordan, I will keep your questions a little bit for later, after Bernd, and then we can dive into that one as well. So not forgotten. Keep your questions coming, even if the questions are unrelated. I will not forget them, or you just give me a ping and I will come back to them. But for now, let's keep it going for Bernhard. Okay, so overall, like design-wise, fantastic. The cover letter is relatively weak, I would say. The CV is pretty good. This should be the draw line, basically. And I would add hobby. I don't know why hobbies not exist anymore, but I would add it. It feels like so stale. Okay, what else do we have here? We have your reel, but let's quickly dive into LinkedIn since we did it only once so far. So first one, I have to say, Bernd, your LinkedIn is, first impression, fantastic. One of the things I cannot stand, because the picture is fine, one of the things that I cannot stand if the picture of a compositor is shit. I don't understand this. Why is a compositor not able to have a good picture? This is a fine picture, looks high quality, yeah, good colors, whatever, nice. Love the title bar. Is like you instantly see that. Also, you can see like this feels like a detail thing where you put the website exactly over your head. So, but yeah, this is the start is great. Here's the problem that you come again: new compositor, compositing artist, freelancing compositing artist, VFX compositing artist. What? So you have to decide and then stick to that. And again, you should not just, oh, we're not connected. Oh my God. You should not just kind of pick a random, pick it by, and don't ask ChatGPT what's the right pick. Pick it by what the positions are that you would generally look for. Pick it by the positions in the past, pick it by the position in the future, by the position that you're applying at the moment or in the future. That should be the title. So the one that, you know, if like 90% of the roles are new compositor or VFX compositor, that's your title, because that is what you are looking for. That's what recruiters are looking for you. Yeah, this is more personal. I would never put my age into that, just for the simple reason, because you have to update it every year. So, you know, in 10 years, you're still 28 here. Working a freelancer, giving a chance to collaborate. Yeah, again, too generic. Again, details like nuke should be in here. If it's not already, it doesn't look like certain things like VFX, commercials, whatever. Like this should be full of, like this should be, isn't it basically what we did in, yeah, this is basically this part, the first part. That is what should be in there. And again, why do the work 20 times? Do it once and put it everywhere, the same thing. Don't overthink this too much. Yeah, just love it. Like your formatting stuff like this, fantastic. Great. There's compositing. Here again, here's compositing artist, but here we have new compositor. So yeah, oh, okay, I didn't want it to copy it from the resume. Why not? I mean, LinkedIn is basically the, you know, the second resume. Like consistency is key. Consistency is key. Is basically if you call a compositing artist, everywhere a compositing artist, but it has to make sense, because at this moment it doesn't really make sense too much. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's still weird that the roles here are called compositing artist, and in your resume they're called new compositor. Small detail, but it can make a big difference. Also in just Googleability and stuff. Love that you put like links in here if you have them. That's fantastic. Your background. I miss my certificate here. Python for Nuke. And English and French. Yeah, I would get recommendation for sure. Doesn't hurt. So I would have at least one recommendation for someone. Best case, your lead or supervisor in the past. Just write them an email or write a few people an email and just get here a recommendation, someone's name. It's also their credibility. You know, actually, one of the things I generally do when people join my Python courses, after the course, I generally give most people a recommendation if they did like, you know, good job. I'm happy to recommend them because my Python masterclasses are always with live Q&A. I give feedback on the code, so I have some interactions, not just, you know, Udemy course where someone watches a video and that's it. I actually have interaction with a lot of people also on our Discord. So that would be a recommendation. Definitely I would do that for. But overall, like honestly, looks good. A few details like you can add like 10%. I think the weakest link for you is this. Okay, last quick jump before this is just a quickie. We dive into that one. Showreel. So, okay, too short. Also, I'm not a big fan of this stuff. I will keep it like a showreel, like a CV, just title card, let's go. No, or at least if you do it, like keep it. Last Voyage of the Demeter, great movie, by the way. The effects was awesome. I really liked the movie. I think that was a like the vampire movie, basically. Very well done. Shogun, wow. Womageddon, okay. So this, if you compare this, for example, with the helicopter before that destroys, this is an independent project. This looks, it could need a little bit polish, I feel like, but overall this looks 10 times better than the helicopter with the black screen. This is a full shot with sky and stuff like that. If you put a shot into that is like maybe a test or something like that, then always make sure that it looks as finished as possible. Worst case, you ask someone like a compositor, in his case you're the compositor, but you ask someone else to do that. Ooh, you have a really interesting career, like really interesting projects background. Henry Sugar, yeah, I watched that one actually. Oh, I think that was the first mail. Okay, so first thing, again, title screen, no flashes or whatever. Second, make sure that the last project, again, is the best one, the second best one. So I wouldn't say that this was the second best one, probably. So if you want, then, you know, it doesn't have to be, but yeah. Also, I think this felt like relatively weak, but maybe I also just didn't know what I'm looking at. But overall, I mean, it's an experienced showreel, obviously. So that's really cool. So yeah, overall, nice. Well done. Let's dive into, we'll take a look at your course. You should do that, alexanderrichtertd.com. I need to kick off the service section through and add reel on top. I had to fix a few things afterwards on the Demeter project. I oversaw a lot of stuff as a junior back then. My last shot is only on the public one. Usually I have 3 shots from the rig. Yeah, the bubbling cork could be kicked. Thanks, was very helpful. Yeah, great. But overall, again, like it's just details on your side for sure. I don't think there's much to, you know, kind of criticize or something like that. You have the experience. I think, you know, I don't think anything I just said was really in the way. Maybe the worst was probably the cover letter, but I don't think anything was really in the way. But, you know, maybe if we think back to the presentation that I did of this one here, you know, you were like, your application is 90% reflective of your skills, basically, not 100%. So that is the biggest difference, I would say. But overall, it was good. I really like it. I think the style and stuff, especially, you really figured that out, and you didn't spend too much stuff on that. But yeah, the title, I think that is really the key here for you. Just make sure that you find the title that really serves you, and then consistently everywhere. New compositor, VFX compositor. Compositing art is probably the weakest of them. So yeah, and don't ask ChatGPT which one is the best, because you probably will not like the answer. So yeah, thank you also for live comments. That makes it much more enjoyable for me, the interaction. So really cool. Most importantly, be active and do personal projects, so recruiting might reach out, right? Yes, I mean, again, the social media aspect, I don't like the recommendation of posting regular or whatever. If you're not an influencer or anything like that, don't post regularly, but post something if you have something. If you have a new showreel, post it. If you have, reach out to the recruiter, say, hey, I have no showreel. If you make a project, post it. If you make something, post it. So I would say in general, everyone should be like, you know, I made something, and then post that, but you know, that's it. And keep your showreel current. So if people find your LinkedIn, for example, and they go to your showreel, which should be easily marked as it is in your case, it should be representational for you, and it's not something that is, you know, 2022, for example. We don't want that to happen. But the rest, yeah, overall, nice. So let's dive into first one. Jordan, you had your questions. I have a question that isn't really related to resume, but I was wondering if it's really possible to get a job by networking on LinkedIn. Yes, it is absolutely possible by job. Actually, I had an interview, at least one interview, by keeping a recruiter in the loop every 6 months if I have a new show reel and whatever. And then it took me, with this specific job, it was Pictures. It took me 3 years, I think, from a student basically. And then after 3 years, he invited me to an interview, and it was 100% because I kept in contact. I asked questions. I sent him updated reel every like 6 months or whatever. And then suddenly reached out and said, hey, let me invite you to our interview. So yes, again, I would say LinkedIn, especially nowadays, I have a problem with LinkedIn a little bit. It's becoming a cesspool Facebook kind of feeling. So that is really not good. But overall, especially as a contact list and maybe search thing, especially for recruiters, I think it's not bad still. And again, I would not rely on LinkedIn, but having a strong profile, posting updates, and keeping everything current, and having the right stuff. Like, again, as we talked with Bernd, if you call yourself VFX artist and you don't call yourself as helping color grading improvements in certain images in blah, 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 if you have the right like keywords and the right titles and whatever, then people will actually stumble upon your stuff. Or if you connecting with people, connecting with recruiters, they will generally look at least, first time over your stuff and then either keep you in mind or just say, that's interesting. So yeah, it can create a job, but again, I would not rely on it, but one of the many things that you throw in the air and you hope it will stick. Second, I've already started doing this a while ago, but I'm wondering if it's weird to add people like that on LinkedIn, knowing that many people already have a lot of connections. So first thing, that's one of the first thing I did when I started is I started to add. So how I started is I added people that I know, people that I worked with, people that I met, FMX or whatever. And then that's recruiters, all recruiters that I could find, I will start. Second, I generally believe you should not just add, but at least write a message. If you don't want to write a personal message, that's okay. But at least like what I do always, like, great to connect with you, Bernd, for example, slightly personal, slightly something, slightly being in their DMs, versus just a notification, someone connected with you. That's it. So yeah, but if you can, it doesn't hurt to write to, Rice Picture, a recruiter, hey, I'm, even if you have an intent, so like, hey, I'm currently applying for the role, or I'm planning to do an application in the future. If you have a decent question, do that. So yeah, I generally believe that's a good thing. But yeah, being slightly memorable is definitely more important than just connecting with millions of people. But again, it still creates a note tree of connections, and that can help in other applications, because maybe you post something, some connection like it, and their connection sees it because they see what they liked. So yeah, it can really help at the end of the day. Kai, hey, tuned in late. On the topic of showreel, what's your stance on private projects on a mid-senior level? Totally fine, but they have to be on the same quality. It's basically the private project you will measure at the same as you will measure the professional. If it's not good enough, like, if your ILM project looks better, then no. But if it looks exactly the same, just maybe like, less projecty, then totally. But also I would try to make them rounded, like, not just black background test environment or whatever. If you can, put a city in the background where a car explodes or whatever, just looks better. Like the best projects are all, even if it's personal projects, they look finished, look like they're part of a team. And again, you can always ask other people to, join in. They get their part, you get your part. So yeah, nothing against, just has to have a quality standard there. Especially when they're behind in visual quality compared to shots from a show. Yeah, that's exactly the comment. So yeah, if they're like, you don't want to water down the quality that you have. Like one of the most common kind of comments that I see is, oh, I needed to show that skill. Like, oh, you have, for example, you're an FX artist and you show really cool explosions and whatever, and then you show a crappy waterfall and you're like, oh yeah, because I wanted to show that I do a waterfall. Why does it have to be crappy? Like, why can it not be good? Yeah, maybe you didn't spend enough time, that's why, but then it should not be in. Then either spend the time to make it good or don't put it in, one or the other. Because it's like, it's perception. Like, if everything looks world class, then you think the person is world class. If most of it looks world class and some of it looks bad, you are not sure. Is the person inconsistent in the quality, and so on? Okay, thank you very much for your feedback, Jordan. Thank you very much for your questions. So if you guys have more questions, let me know. We still have we have 2 people. We will fly through them a little bit faster because we are close to the end. And also, I think we generally get the idea through that. Let me quickly give a quick coffee break for 1 minute, and then we continue our next stage. Welcome to our short mid-episode coffee break. If you love the content and would like to have a successful career in the film or games industry yourself, check out my website. There you can find helpful articles, masterclasses, and coaching opportunities that helped dozens of my students to bring their profession to the next level, and share the podcast with cool people you know. Let's continue with the episode. I hope your minds are blown. So let's do the last people here. So David mentioned he doesn't have a real resume. Was that the comment? Let me double check. I definitely didn't send me one. So I don't know what the comment was exactly. So the comment was, yeah, it's just a website kind of from GNOME Workshop. So what is the... I don't have an online CV link right now. Okay, that was the comment. Yeah, obviously very, very important. This should be always existing. Generally, if you have it online, doesn't really matter that much. A good LinkedIn profile is okay, but you should have it easy to, send and whatever. But showreel must be online. So, okay, let's do this. Picture, fine. Picture, not fine. It's blurry. It's probably FX related, but yeah, not a great picture. So it should be sharp as a knife, and it should be cool. This looks like a screenshot, blurry and whatever. So nah. Houdini twice. I generally would say 2 roles. 3 is kind of on the edge. So also procedural workflows. I don't know if that's like a role. It's a title, so I would not delete it. But Houdini VFX artist and Houdini instructor, I think sounds nice. Procedural workflows, I don't see how this is. This could be something in your summary or whatever. Cover letter. Yeah, love that you put your showreel here. That's great. You do a bunch of postings. Cool. You have some experience. Nice. Obviously, SIA, South Africa. Yeah, I remember you had this very specific situation in projects. So here's again the thing. Skills, again, not the most important thing, but it's a small detail of like, hey, first thing should be Houdini, FX, procedural, all this stuff, and you should delete everything that is like, who cares about your drawing skills? Match moving, like, pff. So if it's not like, we are representing these roles. So this should be also the representation here. Yeah, nice that you have a recommendation, Afrikaan, English. Yeah, the rest looks fine. Overall, yeah, this has to go. And a few mentions here, a few projects if you can, maybe a few links, that could be nice. And the skills, polishing, and then you are good to go. Let's dive, you already have the link. 2021. Oh, okay, so be careful with that, because you sent me 2025, luckily, but that one on your LinkedIn page is old. Yeah, same comment, Vimeo, I would prefer generally. Title card is missing, very important. Yeah, this is literally the screenshot here. It's just too hazy to. Yeah, this is not a great screenshot. It also. Okay. Nice. I love the making of cuts, kind of like, you know, going into certain different camera. Yeah, nice. Could be a little bit more compy, just to keep it like, you know, depth of field, like, you know, haziness into the background. Nice. So real project. A little bit too long. I would say 2 minutes max. 1.5 minutes probably is better. So that's a thing that I noticed. Yeah, some of them, I feel like some of them doesn't 100% hold up. In the cowboy thing. Oh, this one. Why not start with this one? Like just from a, you know, bombastic effect. I feel like this should be probably the first project. Pretty sure it's I feel like it's maybe because you're proud of this project, maybe. But I feel like the Monster Hunter is probably the better first project. Just like the first impression, big movie film, even though not super famous, but like I know it because I saw the trailer. But it's not like super famous. Deep Blue Sea Free. I didn't know that existed. Okay, it's pretty nice. I like this kind of stuff because it feels like this is paid work kind of versus some, you know, this is something I can totally see people pay for. Okay. Animation this time more. Most of it was VFX. Yeah, this one. This looks cool. Nestle. Okay. Yeah, I think the order is a little bit off. I would Okay, this is nice. This looks really good. Yeah, like 100% the order is off. Like I would definitely... This is not the last project. Oh, no. This is definitely not the last project. So I would definitely either start with this. This is really great. Or maybe Monster Hunter or something. Yeah, so it's a little bit over the place. I'm not sure if I would keep this one at all. Maybe. Definitely this one, probably only one camera. Maybe the whatever, which one. This is nice. Maybe a little bit shorter. This is definitely shorter. This is not that interesting. This is nice. Shorter. This is nice. Yeah, a few scenes I would probably delete that are not as... This is nice. And this is fantastic. Yeah, easy you can delete 1 minute from that. I think the rest looks good. I mean, it's really cool, but it's very unbalanced, I feel like. So that would be the biggest thing that I would focus on at the end of the day. Okay, last but not least, Elena. Let's see yours as well. I wanted to at least give everyone a chance who applied. We had 5 people. We are now person number 5. Elena, from our courses. Do I find... Hey, best education ever. If you're wondering, this is where you have to go. Okay, so... Elena, technical 3D artist, Pipeline 2D. 2 roles, totally fine. Information, nice, specific things. Love that you put your Git. We did the Python Advanced together, so this is something important. Again, careful with the underscores if you do this underlining thing. Committed to problem solving, to generic. Also, if it's skills, this is like generic skills, I would, if you want to have a preamble where you describe yourself a little bit, that's totally fine. You know, I'm a Pipeline 2D, who for the artist, who 10 years, things like that. We had a few cool examples before. The beginning part here for Bernd was nice. Some parts here was nice. So yeah, so that's why I meant, you know, we built the knowledge on each other. Yeah, this is last this is not important in the beginning. The most important thing is this is your statement. Oops. This is your statement. So you have to prove it with this. Technical artist. Yeah. So this is the danger that we are facing. So you're saying you are a technical 3D artist and pipeline 2D, but your experience has 3 different roles, and only this one is actually aligning with that. So that is the careful part. So what can we do? First thing, obviously, the pipeline 2D, if you don't have the experience, what you can obviously do is you can maybe try to make here something out of it. You can maybe write a connection of advanced Python advanced and then connect that to the thing. I think you don't. Oh, there it is. So yeah, formatting wise, also not the greatest. But yeah, maybe you can build this a little bit. But you definitely have to strengthen then this. If this is your current best bet, then make the TD Academy more relevant. Yes. No, but if that's your best bet, then obviously because of this, this is good. So the question, for example, what can you do? A few things you can do. The question is, if these are your roles, the question is, can some of these parts be renamed to something else, for example, because they are like, you did that. Sometimes if you think this is the right choice, you can reach out to the studio and ask, hey, can I call myself technical 3D artist or pipeline TD or something? That would be, and then you can change that and then keep consistency. That's what I did at Framestore. I think the general, like they called everyone a 3D artist when I did my Framestore internship, and I asked them, like, I did TD work, so can I call myself TD intern? And they're like, sure. And so if you look at my resume, TD. Keep it simple. I managed to meet tasks of my team, creating my apps, full character workflow from block to dressing. Yeah, this one looks nice. Definitely educate. Yeah, for sure. Education should be its own thing. This is important. Worst case, remove half of this. Simplify, like remove part of these or something, or do different formatting. I would also bold these titles, important, and put them obviously down. Yeah, like experience, education, everything else, skills, software, this amazing education here. Yeah, just kind of formatting wise, it should be, top to bottom. It's kind of weird that this is all sideways, but I actually didn't understand first that these are two. One is a certificate, one is an education. So obviously education, and then something like, TD Academy has this thing that under it. And yeah, be careful about the skills. Important is that you don't overbloat that kind of stuff. So make sure that, for example, game and rendering engine. Yeah, do you need Adobe 3D Painter? No, Adobe 3D Design. So just be careful, especially to the role. If you can't, you can also create different CVs. So for example, if you apply for a 3D technical or a technical artist, first thing, is it technical artist or technical 3D artist or 3D technical artist? So again, same problem as Bernd. Just kind of figure out what's the best title. And again, you can have 2 resumes. One is a pipeline DD, one is a technical artist. And then you can just basically shift things around, make sure that this kind of like different strengths are shown. So that is what I would do, basically. Yeah, overall, looks fine, but it definitely needs some work, I think, to really sticking out. And then you don't have a show reel as far as I know. You only had sent me like the project of the tool. So yeah, small thing here. Again, is it technical artist first or pipeline TD first? So always keep it consistent. Either make this 1 or 2 sentences longer or just not at all, because it doesn't really add. Here should be in the featured should be your show reel in the future when you made one. Very, very important. The show reel, again, numero uno. So that is very, very important. Again, in terms of titles and stuff, this is something you have to look out for. What the jobs in the past, what the jobs in the future. So you call yourself technical artist, 3D technical artist, technical 3D artist, whatever, but something that is actually the role. Mid-technical 3D artist, 3D artist, surfacing artist, yeah, that was the same. Education, yeah, the most, how does it work? This one. The most important one for sure. The most important one. Oh, I have an overlap in the shortcuts. I was wondering what's going on. My OBS and my writing on the screen are basically the same. Okay, so this was the most important one. Yeah, like this. But again, if you're having technical artists as one of your keys, I would definitely, Python is nice, programming is not as important, but it should be more like, you know, probably Maya or something, like Maya, Python, whatever you do as a technical artist specifically. That is the skills that should be like, you know, if you look at this, should be like the most important. See, guys, I told you, this is what I do. Since Elena went through my Python for Maya, Python Advanced, we did live Q&As for like 6 months, basically. I did give you, I don't know, 10 feedbacks or something like that. We had a personal connection. We were connected also on Discord. So yeah, so I have something to say about someone's kind of background and how they like learn, how they progress, how they behave. And so I can actually give some feedback on that one. Yeah, not big thing, but I would definitely add proficiency here. Like, how good is your English? Italian is probably bueno. So, but yeah, just making sure, because again, if you're Italian, very, very important to double down on, is your English good enough? Making sure that you know, have a proficient English, for example, comment here. Yeah, picture's fine. This maybe a little bit too generic. I would rather prefer to see Maya, something, code, whatever. So this is kind of a missed opportunity. It's not bad or something, but it just could be better, basically. Yes, should I add the language to the resume? Generally, yes. Especially as you are Italian, it's very, very important that you make sure it's clear that you know to speak English, you know, and especially which level. Especially if you're applying outside of, obviously, Italy. If you're applying Italy, less important. But if you're applying, you know, UK or whatever, then very important, because it's not always the case that people are great in languages or something like that. Okay. That's like, so that is our comments. Wow. So first one, that is our comments here. Like, these are results specific. We went through all of this. So first one, thank you very much for everyone who applied. Obviously, great opportunity for you to get some feedback, but also thank you very much for, you know, giving me the opportunity to look at you and show how things are done. Hopefully you had the opportunity also to generally learn and understand, you know, from osmosis, basically how it goes. Let's do a few quick final words before we wrap this up. I have a few final tips for you guys that you can do in the future. Okay, so final tips for your job application. First one, growth is better than perfection. So, for example, Elena, for you, make sure that you have a showreel as fast as possible. That is the #1 thing ever. And then it's okay if you update it. If you especially use it on Vimeo, then you can just replace the video. But it's more important that you have something and that you grow. No recruiter cares about perfection. All recruiters see growth. If you talk to a recruiter over a course of years, they will remember you and they will see the changes that you have. Building relationship, we just had the question about LinkedIn. Yes, build connections, hold connections, be out there, just post updates and so on and so forth. So yeah, and also things like events. Like I'm a big fan of the FMX, always recommend that. You can create special content if you want something specifically. If you want to work on the next Superman, DC, whatever, make something that looks like James Gunn DC, or that looks like Christopher Nolan, Odyssey or whatever. So this is also something you can always do. If you want to work for Pixar, make things that look like Pixar. That is the thing. So this is obviously extremely time consuming, but basically unavoidable if you want to work for the best. If you want to work for Disney, you make some frozen effect or frozen shading or whatever. That sounds like potential hire for the future. So that is the thing. And it's very, very important to understand one thing about your showreel, your CV, your cover letter. It's not about showing everything. It's about showing what is relevant, what is relevant to the job. Maybe sometimes something is relevant to that job, technical artist, and then something else is relevant to that job, Pipeline TD. It's not always the same. And generally, to some degree, less is more, because less means you focus on this one role more than barista at Starbucks and this and 20,000 software and 50 million skills and whatever. You don't need to have all Adobe products, all Foundry products. It's more important that as a compositor you have Nuke, and then maybe you have After Effects or whatever, and that's probably it if you don't really need anything else. So that is the focus. That is very, very, very important. And last but not least, so this is what we were looking about now. So job application. So what is the job application? Particular, the documents specifically, it's about skills and experience. If we would go to the next step and we would look into interview, it's about communication and team. When we talk about them, obviously they maybe ask questions, but usually it's about, are you a fit? Can we talk? Are you able to communicate? And then contract negotiations about worth. Worth for the studio, worth for yourself. Like, is it enough money for me? And then are you worth the money that they pay you? So that's the contract negotiation. So all three stages are important. The hardest obviously are job application and interview, because that's the breaking point often. Contract negotiation, usually you come with a certain expectation from both sides, so it's not like usually a big breaking point. So if the job application is well, then they invite you to an interview, and then they will look mostly about if you are the right fit. If they find something in your job application lacking or questionable or not confusing, they will address that in the interview. But that means your job application isn't polished. So if the more they ask you about stuff from your job application, specifically questions about it, the less polished or clear your job application was. Means that you should polish that better, more description, more clarity, the less stuff if necessary. So the interview should be mostly about, are you the right fit, and certain details about the job, less about what part did you do in this shot, kind of. That should be very, very clear in general. And this is something we do here. I was just recently building this template, for example. You can download, and then I started to comment everything. So a little bit what I just did with yours, I started to break them apart and do that. Obviously, you can see it in the screenshot. But yeah, if you're interested to get these templates, like for the European, for the American, and have a small booklet, and obviously a small course also, that and plus the coaching opportunity of me looking over your CV, showreel, LinkedIn profile, and cover letter, you're welcome to apply for the coaching. It's alexanderrichtertd.com/application. It has like multiple. We have job application, interview, and the negotiation. And there is a super package where you can have all three of them. And then we have, interview coaching, negotiation coaching, and I'll give you feedback on your own application. But generally, overall, the idea, obviously, of this event is that you get a better understanding. You can, prioritize better. Maybe you can use what I just criticized on someone else's, on yourself. That's always great. But obviously, getting feedback directly to your point is often that the hardest parts, to connect what you see and understand to your own job application document. So that is something that I can help you with. So feel free to always kind of like check this out if you like. But generally, and one of the things I always recommend to everyone, we had a few people here that are already joined it, is basically one of the skills that I always believe, even as an artist, is helpful, but also to some degree transitioning into technical artist and technical directing role can help you to stabilize a career, is Python. Python is the glue to technical roles. Python is the glue to logical thinking, problem solving, and so on. Learning Python will open 10 skills at the same time, because you cannot do coding without logical thinking, with structural thinking, problem solving, and then so on. So yeah, always recommend it. We're doing this, our next Python cohort starts in January. We have Python for Maya, Python for 3ds Max, Python for Houdini, Python for Blender, just new, Python for Nuke. And then we are having for the advanced, Python Advanced. We have Python Copilot with AI, and we're currently working on Python applications, pipeline, Python for Flow, ShotGrid. So we are working on a bunch of things here. So you're welcome always to kind of join us there. And something new, let me get out of the way. So we are opening our Discord. There's a public section now to our Discord, so feel free to join us. There is the link, or just use the QR code when I'm not in the way. You're welcome to join us and be part of our Discord. And we have big public section and a smaller, student section for all the cohort people. And yeah, we're opening it up because I want part of the stream. I like the communication. I love that you guys are here with me in the chat. Join me every Thursday. Next week we continue, even on the 25th of December. Same time as always. And yeah, one of the things that we set up to do now is to, have a more interactive environment. Instead of just uploading YouTube videos, we have this live streams and you can comment on that. Instead of just, having a newsletter, we invite you to join our Discord and be part there, and, can talk about this episode, for example. We will post this obviously there as well. You get news, you can talk to other people, you can share things, I try to keep it a little bit more contained, but overall for me, originally it was planned for the students to have an environment, but I like to open it up to create also a little bit more interaction and, connection to the stream and stuff like that. So you are welcome to join us. This will be one of the big things that we do. Yeah, else, we have a bunch of streams lined up, as you can see here. The next one will be next week, Thursday. Every Thursday will be financially healthy for the first time, 25th of December. I know probably you will be on Christmas, just eating. But if you are interested, I think this is connected. The first 2 episodes, job application and financially healthy. It's all about, supporting the community, helping out, because I know there's a bunch of people struggling, but I don't believe it's a pandemic kind of thing of everyone is unemployed now. But there is certain moments of difficulty, maybe it takes longer, so a better job application can help you. Maybe it takes longer, so better financial planning and understanding can help you. That is the main idea. So this is more of an episode I just wanted to make, even though it's not 100% fitting into the TD Academy, but I just learned a bunch this year and I just wanted to share that. So would be happy to have you on the 25th, same time as this one. And yeah, last but not least, there is this Honest Showreel reviews by Hugo Guerra. He does this on his Hugo's Desk. I recommend it, especially for compositors. He's like, I know one of you that we looked at had already his show checked out, so I would recommend it as well. I think he does everyone, but especially compositors. So always, if you want that, always recommend that, basically. Okay, final things before we doze off. Next time, I'll make sure to be in for your valuable feedback. Thanks, Alexander. You're welcome. Do you think that in 2026 we will see a better recovery for the industry? This is like stock prediction, obviously. It's a little bit difficult to say. I'm generally optimistic. I don't think AI is as strong as, like, we obviously see constantly new models and so on coming out, but I also see, like, I still believe AI is closer to be Google 2.0 than human. And so it's like, yeah, it's like nice to, ask ChatGPT to a question very more personal, more direct than to Google and read articles. You can ask, for example, hey, I'm traveling to Japan. How long can I, as a German, be there? That is sometimes easier with ChatGPT than Google, because you get like particular answers or certain things. But obviously, biggest downside is could be absolutely wrong, more wrong than certain websites. So, that is the danger that we have. So that is the thing that I would see it. So I generally I'm always positive. Basically, I think there's certain things that we can do to improve. And for example, Elena is someone that I believe she's working hard on that. We should not just stick to it. One of the many reasons I'm doing this stream is, first thing, I love having a more interactive thing than just being alone in my room. Having like people asking questions and I'd be able to interact and stuff. But also, I wanted to grow as with my business, with my public presentation and so on. So that is one of the many reasons I'm doing this stream live now, because it fits well into the way I'm presenting, and it's just the next logical step, I feel like, for me. The same thing I believe is in visual effects, animation, and games, or your personal career. Like, I always recommend to learn Python, just because it cannot hurt. It can never hurt. Best case, it can help. Best case, it helps you as an artist. Alternative, it helps you with a new career opportunity. We had just someone from Vietnam who was hired as a modeler, and then they like, oh, you joined the TD Academy and you know how to code, and then he was shifted to pipeline. Boom, bada bim. Nice. I don't think he was expecting that, but it happened, and so now he's working on that. So cool. So he was not aiming at that, but he was presenting it also. So that is the thing. And so I believe we should be in the loop, including AI. Like, that's why we did Python Copilot, where we used, the AI models to help us code and then figure out, yeah, it's okay. It's kind of helpful, but it's also horrible at the same time. Misinformation, wrong code, broken stuff looks good on the surface, but in depth is just trash. So it has some place, but not that great at the moment. But we are keeping up. Maybe in 5 years, it is a thing that I'm using next to my coding thing, like Google, basically. So I think the same thing for USD and stuff like that. So I think that is the approach that I would see that is very, very important, is to keep up, to keep things polished, to work on the skills. And yeah, that's the thing that we can for sure do. Like, if you are a compositor and you use Comfy UI in the background, not for the main stuff, but like there's a house on a hill and you generate the house with Comfy UI, why not? That sounds like reasonable. Versus you generate the whole image, which sounds insane and also horrible, like the McDonald's ad, I think, and the Coca-Cola ad, which looked horrendous. And so yeah, that makes sense. Like AI in the background, AI as a supporting for coding, that is nice. AI coding, AI making the image, it just doesn't work. We all agree probably that it just looks bad. And if someone says it doesn't look bad, then they maybe have no taste or not understanding that this is not working. People will not like this at the moment. There is maybe a future where this is changing, but for now, but at the same time, ignoring AI for coding, ignoring AI for compositing, image, and whatever is probably also a mistake, because there is certain things we can maybe do faster now, having a little bit AI integrated basically. And so that is this fine line that we currently drive, I feel like, at the same time. And at the same time, there's maybe new opportunities. Maybe, like, let's say you learn Python and you write your own compositing AI model where you have your own AI node in Nuke that you wrote yourself, and then it helps you, be even faster than anyone else. So that is the thing that I see. But again, overusing, nah, but completely ignoring, also nah. Don't use AI yet in my workflow, but only to approach initially new things that I don't know about, and I find it beneficial to get a direction of where to go and deep dive with traditional search. Again, like I noticed even for myself, even independent of, career or whatever, like sometimes ChatGPT is just better because I can give it certain information. Oh, I have, like, for example, let's say a quick tax understanding. Like, let's say you're thinking about going to another country and you're wondering if the tax will be better. These are my tax, this is my income, this is who I am, blah, 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 and then just boom. And then it gives you a certain thing. Obviously, you have to double check. You don't just trust it, that's it. But then you can basically get a quick overview that is 10 times longer to Google. Sometimes maybe impossible because not enough information that are there, because also Google kind of pushed the good information a little bit to the 10th page. But yeah, so that is the thing that I would see, like, yeah, that's nice. Obviously, hallucination and bad and wrong information are the worst offender in ChatGPT, and so trusting ChatGPT purely on especially important decisions is just lunacy. But breaking things for you down, making it more digestible and understandable and more personal, sometimes is absolute better than Googling. Sometimes it's a nightmare, and I would just rather Google and look at the documentation or someone's page describing a thing and then finding it out myself. Like, it's this fine line, but it is now an option, and completely ignoring I don't think is smart. But again, overusing it is absolutely lunacy as well. So that is this fine line, and it will change with each year. And just finding it, like, without overusing it, without underusing it, is exactly that. So I would always recommend to, do a little bit, try it out, see if you can find a potential use case. If not, fine. If yes, nice. And else, then come back 6 months, 12 months later and try again. That's what I did with ChatGPT or whatever, and then see. I will go back to GitHub Copilot when I will work on Plex, my open source pipeline. I will again use it kind of in the background, not only for myself as a coder, but also to double check, is it now more recommendable, less recommendable? Because I made the Python Copilot course, and I would say you can use it. It is potentially a 25% productivity boost, but it's potentially a disaster. So you have to learn how to use it before you really use it. So that is the thing. And so that is the job application thing. So again, the main idea is always to make sure that your job application is reflective of your skills. So the more polished and clear your job application is, again, important is what you put in and how you put it in, into your show reel, into your CV, and so on. What do you mention, what do you don't mention, is extremely important. So prioritization and so on. So that is important, because at the end of the day, you have a skill, and the worst thing you can do is you minimize what people see because you didn't put it in well, you didn't format it well, you didn't, use the best rendering settings well and whatever. So, and suddenly it's like, doesn't look so good. So suddenly this is what people see, and this is actually what people, digest. So instead of coming off strong, suddenly this in someone's eyes because of your application, of your reel, whatever. And then also they don't have time to watch every content that you created. So they will maybe not see something amazing because you didn't really show it well. So that is the key, that basically to job application. The service of the job application is to show that you can do the job. That's it. It's not a fancy thing. So back to the question of the CV should be an art project. No, it's all about data. For example, showreel, it's all about skill. also, who cares? Art, fancy transitions or whatever, fancy music, no one cares. It's about show me a cool explosion, show me a cool compositing. That is what people are all about. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you everyone for joining. This was our job application review, our final TD meetup for this year, but not our final stream. Our next stream is, as always, every Thursday, same time as this one. Next week, next Thursday will be financially healthy for the first time. So everyone who's either, find themselves in a financial situation, who feel like they need, but honestly, okay, let's phrase it out. Everyone should join this stream, because I barely anyone know that is decent in financial stuff. So, even I learned a bunch of things this year. So I'm still learning, but I wanted to share what I know. And I feel like there's a bunch of things that you can also, improve over time. So so everyone join if you have time on the 25th, next Thursday, if you can, get away from the dinner table. And happy to see you. And that means thank you very much for joining our job application review. And I will see you next Thursday for our next stream. This website is here to share my experience, to take you along with me, and to give you an opportunity for a great career. Here you can find my blog with exciting articles about the industry, great masterclasses, and personal coaching that will bring you to the next level. My YouTube channel handles topics about a career in the film and games industry, being a technical director, and professional scripter. I'm also hosting the 21 Artist Show, which is a visual podcast that inspires creatives to make meaningful content to pursue their passions. Finally, subscribe to my newsletter to get industry insights and updates to new content. That's it from me. See you on the next video.